All right, let's try to do this, boys. Yeah. Let's start off with Obelisk, just showing what's the difference, because everything after this is just gonna be easy. So you'll see that the rifles are available right there. After a while, let's just wait and see. They're gonna debuff us. So right there, we got debuffed here. Decreases hit rate by 200. That is a lot of decrease on hit rate. And if you try to shoot it, am I missing? Yeah, I'm missing with the debuff. Yeah, you'll see that sometimes there's like no numbers in there. Like we're actually losing accuracy with it. So yeah, that's what's happening on Obelisk, and this is how you solve it. Oh, destroyed those rifles, done. And then now you don't get it debuffed anymore. So that's how you deal with Obelisk, basically. You just don't get the debuff anymore. Right there. So main thing is like on your first burst, that is like your #1 goal. After you do that, done. Like the boss is easy, you just focus on the core shot, that's it. Mace is, this might be a little bit risky for a lot of people, and because like Mace is weak against Electro, right? And who are popular Electro units? Scarlet and Guillotine, right? And they're also core shooters, which the boss has like weakness on, which is that core. So what you would do if you want to make it kind of easy, just have noise and that's it. You can call it a day after that. That's pretty much it. GG's. It just makes a lot of things a lot easier. That's basically it. That's like the easy setup for team for Mace. But the Mace basically tries to target like the highest attack. Or there are some hits that does target highest attack. Not all hits will target highest attack, but there are some hits that does target the highest attack. And usually you can watch it at this area, around this area at the top area here. There's like some circles that appears. That's when like it tries to target it, and then you can just cover it. So if you're like using Scarlet, you can just control Scarlet, and then when you see that thing, you can just cover on Scarlet alone. And let me demonstrate it, I guess. So if you have it here, my Scarlet will have like the highest attack immediately here. So that it might be very difficult, but you see there's a right there, there's like a line. So that one is AoE, that, or not AoE, like just targeted missile. That one is easy to dodge because you can see the visual, right? But there, typically what he does is after he teleports, he will do that targeted thing to the highest attack again. Right here, coming in, right there. And then right there. And then he's gonna do it again. Watch it. My thing auto bursted, and then that's basically kind of like his main loop. So he's pretty sure he's gonna do that again. Oh, it swapped to Guillotine because I stopped attacking on Scarlet. Oops, I don't have my stacks anymore. That's right. Yeah, so it swapped to targeting my Guillotine. That's kind of like the idea for Mace. And if you're using Guillotine and Scarlet, you can just like use noise and just kind of it trivializes a lot of like the hits and stuff. Yeah, pretty straightforward, right? There's another thing that I want to add for Mace in particular, and it's more just playing around the highest target DPS. And this team is like a pretty risky offensive core shot team, where basically it's like using volume, and then you could use mast on it, and then 2B, Guillotine, and then Scarlet. Like you notice that there's like almost no healer here, but the way I have this set it up is basically I will manually control Scarlet for a little bit, and pay attention to Mace's behavior, where he will shoot like the highest target, right? So I can like manually control Scarlet and then like manually cover as needed. And then when after bursting for a while, 2B will end up having higher attack than Scarlet, especially for those people that have like a high like investment Scarlet and then like their 2B is like a little bit lower investment. That's something I could eventually 2B will end up like having the higher attack if as long as you have like, you know, high enough skills and like gears. Eventually like she will have higher if she wasn't the highest already at the beginning. And so you can, for one of my team, I had to use Scarlet for a little bit and she was the highest DPS, and so she was the one that I was like covering with. And then 2B, after like a few bursts or three of her bursting, then she ended up being the highest attack. And then so Mace single target ended up swapping to 2B. So that's another thing to consider if your team end up working out that way. An alternative is like if you can't do like that very offensive team, you can use Quincy. And Quincy, she will have essentially heal like the highest HP or highest attack to your two highest attack, which would be 2B and Scarlet. So Guillotine is likely going to have lower attack than Scarlet because Scarlet is just has a higher multiplier than Guillotine typically, unless like, you know, there's like some discrepancy. But anyways, it will basically just either 2B or Scarlet at the beginning that will have the highest attack. And so Quincy will heal both of them, and so that's a safer choice if, for example, you don't want to use mass or don't have mass also. Like, and that will also not heal Guillotine because she will be essentially increasing the max HP and as an after effect heal 2B and Scarlet instead. So that's an interesting setup that you could do as well with this team. I really like that team. It's a fairly risky team, but there's also like a slightly less risky that alternative that you guys can do. And then for Nihilister, this boss is just super chunky. You just like use your best team really. I wrote down like different teams instead here for Nihilister, and I'll link this guide basically. And I wrote down like the different teams that you could use. So Nihilister, this is where a lot of our people use their Dorothy because like Dorothy has water element, right? So at least just additional damage from her, and privity as well. But and the main thing about it is like Nihilister's parts are so squishy. Like it's basically useless to use A2. I thought we were gonna be able to use A2, but no, not. And so yeah, all those parts are kind of just like low. They're low HP. You can't take advantage of multi-hit. See what I mean about like there's just no good content for rocket launchers. They're intentionally even doing it. Like it's the part where A2 is supposed to shine, but like you just destroy those parts so easily. They just die so fast. So most setup is like Anis with Dorothy, and then like because Dorothy and Privity synergize with one another, and then the Summer Anis is good there. And then you just put in like Maxwell or any DPS. And if you guys are also struggling, just use the highest DPS team, which is basically the Bunny Girls team, right? Like that's like the highest DPS team, because this boss is just such a bullet sponge that you want your big hitters to do their hits on Nihilister. Rebuild Cucumber, this one is a little bit easier This is one of the easier bosses. Some people might end up needing healer because like he does an AoE that pierces through cover, and that might end up being like too strong for some. So you might end up like needing a healer. But if you don't need, some of them don't need a healer. It's gonna be depending on, you know, obviously how much stronger you are. But this boss is also fire element, so. And I forgot to mention on the Obelisk, it's also fire element weak, so you are good to use like Alice, Max, not Alice, Max, Alice, Modernia, and Tubi. Those are the main DPS, fire DPS, and same with Rebuild Cucumber, it would be Alice, Tubi, and Modernia. Those are the main like factors to them, like that are good. Just have elemental weakness, right? So that's the main thing. If you don't have them, then just pick any core shoot weak. So like assault rifle, sniper rifle, and machine gun are good against these bosses. And then material H, what he does is he intermittently spawns like mobs, and what you want to do is kill those mobs ASAP. So he does it like roughly in 2 bursts timing. Usually I can slot in 2 bursts and then the shield will be back up. So typically it would be on your first unit. I guess it depends also how fast you charge your bar, but that's kind of like the rotation. So you gotta kill these mobs fast. You kind of want to avoid wasting your burst. I accidentally wasted my litter there, but you kind of want to avoid that and then just start using it here once the shield is up, so that you are not wasting like your DPS basically, because that shield will pretty much like null your hits, and after you destroy the enemies, the shield is still up there for a few more seconds, and that few seconds, like litter only has 5 seconds of buff, so you better make it work. So that's one thing, right? He's gonna constantly spawn that QTE, and then you just deal with that. And then depending on how far or how fast you do the QTEs, that's how soon you will get also to this next part of this. So if you want, you could also delay this destroying the QTEs if it works out better for your burst windows. So sometimes, like for example, when I'm using Snow White, which is another team that is good for this one, you can purposely delay your burst a little bit so that like your Snow White's burst is not gonna line up at the same time as when the shield is up. Yeah, wind DPS. Oh, very funny joke. Yeah, so this boss is weak against wind, but I actually, hey, listen, look, my Noir's not doing bad. She has a few elemental damage bonus, so yeah, hey, listen. After a while, this boss does get into, oh yeah, right there. Oh, okay, I gotta stop my Maxwell burst there. Yep, all right, there we go. And this is also why Pierce is good. You saw that when I bursted with Maxwell there, you could go back a little bit, there were 2 numbers. Pierce is good here because you hit the core and the like body part, the main body part or something. Anyways, that's why you want Pierce here. Snow White, Alice, and Maxwell are pretty good here. And then around like getting close to the halfway point, this is when it gets kind of dicey. He spawns these buffs, but it's getting closer now to the part around like 1 minute left. Let's see if we can get to that point, roughly plus or minus. Come on. All right, gonna do the thing, but it just gets pretty messy where like a lot of shit is happening. Yeah, okay, there you go. Okay, this one's fine still. Charge, there you go. Nice double shot again. And then the boss is gonna be really spammy here. He's really like he really wants like the highest target out. That main turret right here is gonna constantly target your highest attack unit, and so that's why you notice here Alice is like constantly been targeting right here, getting targeted here. And so either you need like a healer taunt or whatever you need, and then now he starts like around 30 seconds left, he's gonna start spamming this AoE. It gets really messy here. Yeah, right there. But that's kind of like the general gist of this fight. It's otherwise it's more about just like timing your bursts and being able to survive. Also this last bit I'm just gonna keep going. I don't think you really want to in that one, but yeah, that's like an AoE if you fail. That's an example of it if you fail. But that is pretty much like material H, and otherwise like just destroy the mobs as soon as you can, but don't also waste your burst when the mobs are there, so you don't like waste a lot of those buffs and bursts windows. But yeah, the way we have set up our teams, like people with fire units, Alice, Modernia, 2B are hitting Obelisk and just destroy the orbs pretty fast. Be good with that. Mace, that's where our electro teams go. Guillotine, Scarlet, Summer Anise, those are pretty kind of popular there. If you can see, this is so consistently. You see how everyone that hit here are so consistently. It's just the same teams. They're just copying each other. So yeah, that is that. And Nihilister, yeah, you just gotta do your best. Yeah, a lot of people use the Doherty team here. That's basically like how it was. And you know how else Nihilister is. There are some people that told me like, oh, I can't do the QTE unless I'm bursting with Modernia. You don't need Modernia for QTE on Nihilister. I don't know what kind of gameplay you do, but if you want to just like properly do the QTE for Nihilister, all you really just gotta do is time your bursts. It's not really like you need like a 15-second burst. You probably are just spamming burst, that's why. But if you think that you cannot consistently do it, you can wait to use your burst until I use my burst already, but I'm just saying, you can wait to use your burst until these, or just make sure that you can detect like the pattern immediately. Once you detect the pattern immediately, it's either like an S or the reverse S, or a U or the inverse U. For wait, is there an inverse U? I guess with the way you write things, it's U from left to right or right to left. So that's basically it. But otherwise, like Nihilister, you guys got this. Like the rest of the Nihilister fight is basically done. So there's units that cleared raid already on day one. Yeah, we cleared in 3 hours, and I think Carnage cleared in 2 hours 30 minutes or something like that, and then like Azure Sky cleared in like 2 hours 37 minutes or something. I can't remember, it was 37, but I know Carnage and my guild Skyfall is in between, or is the Azure Sky is in between us. That's as far as I'm aware. Yeah. And yeah, rebuild Cucumber. This is where 2B, whatever your units are. This is where we kind of use 2B, Modernia, Alice. That's right there. A2 is not useful on any of these bosses. Don't use A2. It's a waste unless you don't really have any other DPS, and you need like, but you're gonna need like a healer also. I could see it on, I guess, rebuild Cucumber. like because like you're gonna need the healer anyway sometimes, like because like the boss does AoE and you're probably not gonna survive it, so you're probably like, oh, I need a healer. And then I guess like I could see you using A2 here with like if she has like a lot of elemental damage. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, Scarlet, this is pretty much like a bunny girls galore for our team. There's Snow Whites here too that have done, but majority is like bunnies, just to kind of keep ourselves alive for that. Core 7 A2 enjoyers. Yeah, I will link, and then if I figure out any more things, I'll write things down. Oh, I guess I wrote down this one, like alternative team pepper, because Mace targets the highest attack constantly, and if you don't want to like just guard through it, or maybe your guard can't keep up with it, there's also the pepper. Like you could just use focus pepper, so like pepper can constantly just heal. That's one way to do it if you're just not enough high level to keep up. But otherwise, oh, another thing that I wanted to talk about, this one for Nihilister. I'm going all over the place. Whatever, boys. You know what? It's up to you. Hey, listen. This is another thing that you could use with Summer Anise and Dorothy, and like Polly and Biscuit. So for low level people there that somehow just either they cannot sustain themselves against Nihilister, Biscuit can recover destroyed covers, and she does some heal for attackers and sustain on, or not, invincibility, indomitability for defender, and then like for supporter they get heals also. But basically Biscuit is like a decent one for healing, and this one is a little bit more support oriented, so like because Dorothy and Summer Anise are both supports, and Polly does give a huge buff, attack buff, and same with Biscuit, she gives a huge attack buff, but only to support units, which is Summer Anise and Dorothy technically are support, so they get buffs from the attack buffs from Biscuit also. So that's another thing. Nihilister, for some people, if their level is high enough, they don't need like a healer at all. So that's another thing to consider. You might or might not need a healer. You could use Marciana too, I guess, with like Dorothy Brevity if you need a healer. Helm. There's a lot of options that you could do. But it's pretty much just like you're probably like big hitters are also recommended to be there also. But other than that, yeah, otherwise this Union Raid is a lot easier than I would expect. Actually, it's actually maybe also because we just have a lot more tools now to use, like different units, like Summer Anise 2B are really good additions as of recent, right? So that's probably why this raid is just, I feel like we have a lot more DPS to go around in terms of like meta DPSs. So yeah, yeah, I think that's basically this Union Raid. It's roughly things, and if there's other things that I found out that maybe I just didn't see immediately, I'll add more to the docs. I don't think we need like multiple videos just for this, but yeah, hey, good luck to the rest of you. I'll see you guys next time.